I really like this fridge from SetPower that I've been trying out. So what about refrigeration when you're living in a vehicle, you're traveling, you're a nomad or a snowbird, whatever? Do you really need it? The short answer is no. I've traveled without refrigeration for extended periods of time. I know other people who have, but at the same time it's highly convenient and desirable, I think, if you can do it. So hopefully you don't hear me talking this morning. I'm sure you can hear some wind outside. I'm up in Wyoming and we have a 75-mile-an-hour wind gust today, so the trailer's kind of rocking. Fortunately, it's only rocking, not rocking and rolling. I got the wheels shocked safely because I'm getting hit in such a way that it might make me roll otherwise. But the refrigeration, it's very convenient if you have it. It allows, especially if you want to be out in the backcountry and stuff, you can do it with just a cooler or an ice chest. I've done it, but boy, you spend so much money on ice, and that's before you even start thinking into the gas and the wear on your vehicle, driving into town every few days, and a really good quality cooler that's gonna keep ice for more than a few days is, they're getting up into the price where you might as well buy a 12-volt fridge if you have the power to run it. Now there are those little 12-volt cooler things that sometimes people think might be an alternative. I've tried those. They pull so much power and you have to leave them running. So they pull, like, in my experience, about 5 amps per hour around the clock. So you're talking 120 amps per day to keep that thing running, and you don't have good temperature control. They're going to be too warm when it's hot and maybe freeze stuff up when it's cold. And they just a lot of power, so I don't recommend those. I'd do a ice chest before I did one of those again. But with ice chests, I mean, like you got the ice, and then no matter how creative you get trying to pack them and using dividers or using bins or buckets in there to try and keep things dry, sooner or later food ends up getting wet or it spoils because it's not cold enough. So if you can all do it, legit refrigeration is the way to go. And for most of us, that's going to be 12-volt fridges like this one here from SetPower. And it's especially nice if you're going out in the backcountry because you can bring enough food to last you for a while. And if you have one like this one here, this dual zone, so you have a refrigerator and a freezer part, you can actually freeze some things that are more perishable and sensitive and keep them even longer, move them into the fridge side as you need them, and you can go out for even longer without having to worry about going to town, which is always nice, but when gas is $5 a gallon in a lot of places, it becomes a really big deal. Now, if you have a lot of RV fridges, they'll run on propane when you're off-grid or on 12-volt. They tend to not do so great on 12-volt. There may be some exceptions to that, but that's kind of a common thing I hear from everybody I've ever talked to, and it's been my experience as well. With the propane works better, but then you have to have propane, and not everybody likes that idea. So I think 12 volts is the way to go if you're doing refrigeration in a vehicle. They're more affordable for sure. Even the best ones are a fraction of the cost of an RV fridge, and they can be very, very reliable. I have a 12-volt fridge in the van that has been in there for must be 5 years now, and it's still going strong. So if you buy a decent fridge, it can last you for a long time, provide a lot of good service over the years. So I don't have any real objective in convincing you need a refrigerator, but most people seem to want one anyways for the obvious benefits. So let me tell you a little bit about this fridge. This is a SetPower RVD PRO. This is the 60-quart model. They do have an RVD PRO in 45 quart is a little bit smaller, of course. They're the same height and depth, but the 45 quart's a little bit shorter, about 4 inches shorter, I believe. So I've been testing this thing for, I think, about a week or two now, and I've just been really, really happy with it. I'm still trying to figure out if I can find a better place to put it in a trailer, because one of the things I've noticed with trailers and RVs is that you may get a lot of storage, but it's not always very usable storage. So unless I want to take the old fridge out of here and dispose of it somehow, because it was not working well, right now it's sitting on a bench, and that actually works fine. And it's convenient, it's right next to my kitchen counter here. But this thing's working really, really well and meeting all of my needs. There is some minimal assembly required when you take it out of the box. Basically, you want to put this extra handle on here, and this is an elastic handle, they call it, but it just tips out, and there's one on either end, so you can pick the fridge up. It weighs about 40 pounds, so it's not super light, but I think it's probably in line with any fridge of this size. It is a 60 quart, so that's on the bigger end of 12-volt fridge models. It has a handle on it that comes attached. This is a slide handle, and it's got a button on either side you just hit, and I can't really show you in here because it's kind of tight spaces, but the handle slides out so you can grab the handle and take advantage of the wheels that are on the other end of it. And you do have to put the wheels on and a couple legs on the front here. So a couple legs on this end on the bottom, a couple wheels on the back with a frame. You put that on. Very simple setup though, and they even send a little toolkit with an Allen wrench and little wrench for the nuts on the wheels. The only thing you need that's not in the kit is a Phillips head screwdriver, which you probably have already. But with the wheels, you can slide this handle out, and you don't have to pick it up. You can just wheel it around, unless you need to put it in or out of your vehicle or something. But other than that, that's all you can do to assemble it. And it actually would work, I believe, without putting any of those items on, but they're just extra features. You got a latching lid on the top. Lid opens up, it latches nice and secure, so it's not popping open while you're driving around or anything. The fan in this is very quiet. I have to listen really, really. I'm a little bit hard of hearing, but I have to listen very closely to even hear it come on, which is great. And the wheels, too, I want to mention, are really solid construction. These things are not going to fall apart anytime soon. I also really like that it has a light in here. You can sort of see there when I open it up. That's great when it's dark. My RV fridge did not have that, so that's a real nice feature as well. It is dual zone, as I mentioned, so there's a divider in here that is actually removable. You can take it out if you only want to use it as one zone, whether that's a freezer or a refrigerator. The operating temperature is from 0 degrees Fahrenheit to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, so you probably don't want to keep stuff at 50, but I guess you could if you wanted to, but you can freeze stuff down to 0. As far as power consumption, it's officially rated at 60 watts when it's running on the max mode. You can put it in eco mode, and it seems to run about half that. When I first plugged this thing in and it was at room temperature, I briefly spiked up to about 70 or 75 watts. I plugged it into the portable power station so I could see what it was using. Then it settled back down around 60 watts, and it stayed there for a while. Then I switched over to eco mode, and it was about 30 watts. Obviously, that's only when it's actually running, and there are a number of factors that affect that make it challenging to figure out just how much power a fridge is going to use in 24 hours, and that is going to vary depending on the time of year. The quality of the construction with the insulation, how well it's built, the seals and stuff, that's one thing that's going to affect it. How much it's losing, how much cold air is losing or heat's getting in, however you want to figure that. The quality of the compressor is going to affect how much power it uses. Also things like if you let direct sunlight hit it, that's going to, where it's in your vehicle, that's going to make it use a lot more power. If you have them mostly filled up, they run more efficiently than if they're empty. And like if you have the freezer set at 0 versus setting it at, 15 or 20 degrees, it's going to use more power to get it down to 0. And again, the max mode cools faster, but the eco mode cools a little slower, but it uses like half the power. So those things are all factors that come in. And the ambient temperature is a really big one. If it's 40 degrees overnight and your fridge is set at 40, the compressor's really never going to come on probably. or if it's even below 40, it definitely shouldn't be coming on. So you won't be using much power. If you get into the summertime and it's 100 degrees in your vehicle during the day, which is not uncommon if it's 90 or 95, which happens a lot of places, the fridge is going to run a lot to try and keep that cool. You can put extra insulation around it or heavy blankets over it or something, which will help. Just be careful not to block the vents for the compressor. That needs air to flow, and if you block them, it's not going to work very efficiently, and it could cause premature failure of the compressor. Actually, it probably will cause premature failure, so be careful with that. And also, wherever you position it, make sure those have good airflow. That'll help it run more efficiently. But when it's 100 degrees in your van, or even 90 degrees in your van, any fridge is going to run a lot. And if it only gets down to 60 at night, it's going to run more at night because it's coming, not as much as during the day, but it's going to run more than when it's 40 or 35 degrees at night. So ambient temperature has a big effect on how much power you're going to need. But this thing does come on and off, maintains a nice steady temperature, which is great. Even with it running on eco mode, it's maintaining a nice steady temperature. I'm not seeing any temperature fluctuation at all, which is just fantastic. My RV fridge was terrible about the temperature fluctuation, and that was very sensitive to ambient temperature as well. If it was really hot outside and then it cooled down, it will be all messed up, which it does every day in Wyoming, basically. All right, so a few more specs here from the user manual that comes with it. This is nice. You actually get a paper user manual with some usable information in it with, it's understandable. You can understand what's written in it. We've all seen user manuals that make no sense. We've all seen products these days where you have to go to the website and download a PDF of the manual because the manufacturer didn't want to spend $1 or whatever it is to give you a paper manual. So, anyways, there's the wheels, for example, the little frame you put on with that. Very simple setup for the few things you have to do. As far as some specifications, they give the specs here for both the RVD 45 and the RVD 60. Actually, make sure I get the name right here. It's the RV 45D Pro and the RV 60D Pro. And this is the 60 quart, as I said. This is the big one. So SetPower lists the external dimensions as 25.4 inches by 16.7 inches by 21.1 inches. And if you go with a 45 unit, it's almost 4 inches shorter. So it takes a little bit off this way. Again, 45 quarts and 60 quarts. This one weighs 41 pounds empty. The smaller one weighs 38 pounds empty, so very similar in weight as well. And this thing's solidly constructed. It's nice. I mean, it's not flimsy, and you just get a feeling the handles are solid. I mean, you get a feeling like this thing's going to last for a while. And like I said, they do rate it at 60 watts power consumption is the official number, and that was in line with what I saw running on Max after that initial bump of about 75 when it was coming from room temperature on Max. And it was empty at that point, so there was nothing. There wasn't already cold stuff in there to help with maintaining the temperature. It is a 12-volt fridge, and it comes with a very good quality 12-volt plug-in. Better than some I've seen for sure. It's a good quality plug that fits snugly into an outlet. And then if you want to run it on AC or on shore power, it comes with an adapter that plugs into the AC, and then it just has a 12-volt receptacle you plug the cord for this into. The nice thing with the AC option is if you're at a campground or something that has AC, you can plug in and not need to use your batteries. But also if you're doing trips, you're not traveling full time, you get ready to go on a trip, you can load this thing up with all your food at home, turn it on and plug it into your house grid tie power and get it all good and cooled down before you put it in your vehicle, so it'll put less load on your batteries in your vehicle. A little control panel on it, right here on this end, very simple. There's two display screens, one for each zone with a plus and minus buttons. You can adjust the temperature settings, and then there's a power button and a button to switch between max mode and eco mode. And like I said, the eco mode uses about half the power. It's not as powerful of a cooling cycle, so it may take a little longer to adjust the temperature. But I've seen it, so for me, it's been very reliable running on eco. I'm not seeing hardly any temperature movement at all. And I mentioned the quality on this thing looking really good. I want to mention too that it does have a 1-year general warranty and a 3-year warranty on the compressor. So that's something important to think about when you're considering buying a 12-volt fridge. There's a lot of people these days just buy a cheap Chinese manufactured fridge, no-name fridge off of Amazon or something, But I think you have to wonder how long it's going to last and how good the quality is when you're paying half the price or less of a decent fridge. So this one is in line with what good fridges cost. It's definitely not the most expensive 12-volt fridge in the market, but it's kind of in line with what the better fridges run. I'll have a link in the video description if you want to learn more. Check out the current pricing, but prices on these things change all the time, so I don't want to mislead you with that. But like I said, I think it's on the affordable end of good quality fridges. But a couple things I've heard a lot with the really cheap fridges that people buy online. The first is that the compressors are often really loud. I have to listen to know if this compressor is running. I can record a video sitting right here, or right here like this, which I sometimes do now. The compressor's running right now. I can feel a very slight vibration of my hands on it. I can't hear it, and it doesn't pick up on the microphone. Where a cheaper fridge, their compressors are often quite loud, and you're going to know when it's running. And that can be really annoying in a very small space like a van or an RV or a minivan or an SUV even. That's really annoying. So it's great that this is nice and quiet, and that I think that's one of the things you often get when you have better quality products. Another thing is just the longevity. How long is it going to last? And if you think you're saving money because you buy a $300 fridge, but you have to replace it in a year, which I've heard plenty of stories of, and then you're buying another $300 fridge, and then another one the year after, you're spending more money over the long run than you would be just to buy a decent fridge in the first place, if you can scrape up the money to do so. As I mentioned, I have a good quality fridge in the van, and that came with a van when I bought it from Deborah. But she put it in 5 years ago, and I think, if my memory is right, it was around $700 at the time. It may be a little bit more now. But it's 5 years later, and it's running flawlessly. It's been run every single day for 5 years, and it runs flawlessly. So I expect the same thing out of this SetPower fridge. So when you buy good quality, you get something that's built better and that runs better. And efficiency can factor in there too. If you got better quality compressor, better quality insulation, you're going to use less power, which is important to those of us who are running on solar and house batteries. That when the sun goes down, or when it's cloudy and we're relying on our battery bank or our portable power station. But you also get a warranty, and you get an expectation that the thing's going to last a long time, as opposed to something cheap that just doesn't hold up. So this is one of those cases where I think it probably is worth spending a little more money and getting something that is good. And like I said, I've been using this thing for a week or two now, and I am just really, really happy with it. I've been very pleased. So right now I'm using it in the RV. This has replaced my RV refrigerator. I still have the one in the van that's installed. That's one that is not a portable like this. It's one that you actually mount into a cabinet. This is serving as my main fridge right now while I'm in the trailer. This summer I'm going to be traveling like usual, but I am not taking the trailer anywhere this summer because gas prices. I don't have to say any more than that, right? The bottom line is that I get about 18 miles a gallon in the van running with just the van build and stuff in the van. If I throw the trailer on, I'm lucky to hit 10. Sometimes it's 9, or even one time I was at 6 miles a gallon coming up from Arizona. That was a lot of hills and wind, but normally it's 9-10 miles a gallon. So that means twice the fuel and twice the fuel cost. So the trailer's staying parked for the summer, other than when I haul it down to dump tanks every couple of weeks. That's only a few miles away. So I will be traveling this spring, summer, and fall, but not with the trailer. I'm only traveling just in the van. And matter of fact, I'm going to start doing that very soon, just as soon as I get a few more projects done in it to get it back to full usable condition. I took some things out of it when I bought the trailer. I put them in the trailer, like my desk that's just to my side here. And so I need to get a few things back done to get it nice and ready. But the weather's been kind of, spring in Wyoming. So I'm trying to take advantage of the rare, really nice day. But I also have to balance that with those really nice days going out of town to do some photography and drone footage and things. So when I travel anyways, this year, this thing's going with me. I'll just grab these handles, pick it up, and carry it out the door. And then, of course, if I want, I can extend this thing and wheel it across to the van, which isn't all that far away anyway, but load it in the van, and I'll be taking this with me. So between the two of them, between this one and the one I got in the van, I probably could put a month's worth of perishables in the two of them. I do have a tiny freezer compartment in one of the van, but this has a pretty good sized freezer compartment. So between the two of them, I should be able to carry like a month's worth of food, is my guess. Because I did have occasions year before last with just the van with a small fridge in the van, which is smaller. I don't remember what the rate size is on it, but it's definitely smaller than this one. It might be a 40 or 45 quart, but it's a lot smaller than this one. And being the front loader, it's convenient in some ways, but you can't get as much stuff into it. With the top loader, you can really pack it with a lot of stuff. So when I just had the smaller one in the van, I was over in Oregon, and in the height of the pandemic craziness, and I was able to go 2 full weeks between having to go to town. So I'd literally every 14 days, I'd run into town, get some groceries. About every other time, I'd fill the gas tank up. So that was really convenient. And I don't much like going to town anyways. I was camping out in the wilderness with beautiful mountains around and a beautiful night sky and all that kind of thing. So that was great being able to do that. And if I could do that with that small fridge, I know I could go a month with both of them, which is really fantastic. And it's nice too when you're traveling. So shortages and all that stuff these days that can happen. It's nice to be able to just load up a fridge and freezer full of what you know you're going to need and have easily 2+ weeks for one person in this fridge. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. That's how I'm using this thing. I'm very happy with it. Right now it's my RV fridge replacement, but because it's so portable, when I do travel this summer, which I will be doing a fair bit, this thing's coming with me. So I'll wrap this up. I do want to say thank you to SetPower for sending up this fridge to test. They did send the fridge, but they're not paying me to do this video or to say anything good about it. They just sent it to me to test, but I've been really happy with it. And when I get contacted by a lot of companies to review stuff, and I only accept the product review if I think it's going to be a decent company and a decent product. And so I've heard nothing but good stuff about SetPower fridges, so I was glad to test this out and take a look at it. And so far it's not only met, it's exceeded my expectations. So if you're looking for a 12-volt fridge, if you're looking for a big one like a 60 quart, this thing's definitely worth checking out. Like I said, they have a smaller 45 quart as well. I will have links down in the video description if you want to check out these fridges and learn more about them. But so far I'm really impressed with this, and I look forward to using it more this summer as I'm doing some traveling and things. And so you'll see it in other videos, and I'll let you know how it continues to perform. But we're off to a really good start with this. So hope you found this video helpful. Let me know in the comments if you're using refrigeration, or if you're not, if you're planning on adding it. It is something of an investment, but I do think it's worth it. And make sure you got the power to run them, because they have to run 24/7. You can dial things back. You can, if you have solar, for example, you can crank it up and get it really cold during the day and dial it back at night, so you're not using as much power at night. That'll help with that a little bit, but you do want to make sure you get enough power to run it, and consider the rainy days and things like that. But once you got your power squared away, adding a fridge is probably one of the best lifestyle improvements you're going to be able to do. There's a few things that just make a big difference. A good bed, a good comfortable place to sleep, and a decent electrical systems, or whether that's a DIY system or a good portable power station, or a couple of them, that allows you to have reliable power, and a refrigerator, so you can actually carry food and cold beverages if you want. Even just cold water in the summertime is so nice when it's hot out. It makes it a lot easier to put up with a hot day without air conditioning if you can drink some cold water or something once in a while. So let me know in the comments if you're using refrigeration, or if you're planning on adding it if you're not already. But thanks for joining this video, everybody. We'll catch you in the next one. And don't forget, if you want to learn more about SetPower fridges, check out the link in the video description.